Well, our feature story tonight focuses on making things right when something's gone wrong. We're talking about apologies. So what's the most effective way to handle this thing? Well, joining me right now is our psychologist, Dr. Peter Economou. Good to have you here, Dr. Pete. This can be really difficult for a lot of people, isn't it?
Apologies make people very uncomfortable. Yeah. I deal with it a lot in my clinical practice, and I definitely have a couple stories that I can share with you.
Okay, we're going to talk about that. But first, we're going to go to Antoine Lewis, who takes a closer look at what may make the perfect apology. Watch.
If I know I'm wrong, I'll apologize.
No,
but if not, I'm not going to say.
She usually thinks she's right, so she doesn't apologize.
Because I usually am.
For many of us, they are simple little words that are terribly hard to say. I'm sorry.
People wrestle with it because I think it has to do a lot with our egos.
Dr. Jennifer Thomas is a North Carolina-based psychologist and co-author of the book When Sorry Isn't Enough, which explores how to make the perfect apology.
What you need to do is to focus on what you did wrong and how it affected that person. And where we get off track is when we go in and we talk about ourselves. Like we say, well, I didn't intend to do it. I never meant to hurt you. Or I forgot to take my medicine that morning. They don't want to hear any of that stuff. They want to know that we get specifically how we affected them.
The book says there are 5 apology languages: expressing regret, accepting responsibility, making restitution, genuinely repenting, and requesting forgiveness.
I find it very easy to apologize to people.
Tell me why.
I mean, if I'm wrong, if I think I'm wrong truthfully.
I guess it depends on the situation.
And remember, insincerity is very easy to spot.
How do you know when someone's being sincere when they apologize to you? Can you tell if someone...
I think my years of experience with people have figured that out.
When someone's not being sincere?
Oh, yeah. I've been married a long time, too.
And speaking of couples and relationships, using flowers or gifts to keep from actually saying you're wrong is always a no-no.
But usually, if I'm, wrong, I just, I'm sorry.
Dr. Thomas says the bottom line to giving the perfect apology is just do it and mean it.
We know at home, we want to be reconciled. We want to be speaking to each other.
From the Upper East Side, Antoine Lewis, Fox 5 News.
Thank you, Antoine. I apologize, as they say. It's not that easy for a lot of people to do that, Dr. Pete. Some people have a difficult time, but apologies are important. Why?
Relationships are important, and so there's trust that builds on a relationship, and if trust is broken, then the relationship might have a gap, or there might be some effect that's negative on that relationship. That's why we have to work towards trying to apologize so that we can build relationships stronger, because we know that's a lot of what our life is about.
And making that apology is difficult for a lot of people. What stands in the way the most in terms of being able to say it?
I mean, usually the person, we say that we are our own worst enemy. And so we get in our way, and a lot of times because of emotion. There's something about ego that was mentioned.
Oh, sure.
Right, and that's a big piece of it, but also just about how uncomfortable it feels to actually apologize. We avoid discomfort. Many of us.
Exactly, and dealing with it head on can be difficult for a lot of people. But there is a right and a wrong way to do it. And many times, if you do apologize, it can improve the relationship as well. It can clear the air, and you can have a better relationship than you ever had.
I've seen in my clinical practice that it often does improve the relationship. And while we saw in the piece that there's 5 different ways that you can do the apology, the 2 biggest takeaways from that are to own it, take responsibility of it, and then to offer a suggestion. Oftentimes people are hard-headed or blaming somebody else for something. Rather than being that way, just try and describe what's going on and offer a suggestion for how to repair the trust.
Right. Now, there are some people who won't accept an apology. I mean, they talk about being very difficult. They just say, I don't want to hear from you anymore, and that's the end of the relationship. What do you do? I mean, do you pursue that? Do you just leave it alone and just don't bother with it?
We can't impact or change how someone else reacts to us. All we can work on is how we react to somebody else. So no, I do not think that we have to shove this down people's throat. Clinically, I've seen people that want to make something that it isn't. And the metaphor I say is you can't put a square peg through a circle hole. So if I'm trying to make an apology because I've been friends with somebody since we're 3, that's not enough. There has to be the building trust and that trust repair in order to actually, get past and actually have a genuine apology.
That's very important. Some people feel that, there are some small apologies, little things, but then there are some serious ones. Should you do it immediately and not let it fester? Is that really important too?
I mean, look, I can apologize for not holding the door, or I can apologize for having an affair. So like you said, there's big and there's small.
Sure, right.
Immediacy is important. I think in today's age with social media that immediacy it lingers for a while.
Yeah, sure.
Because we're constantly accessible. But that being said, when we're with the person interpersonally, it's best if we can direct it right away and not let it linger, not let it fester over time. It gets worse over time.
Okay, doctor, in a nutshell, what do we think about?
Own it, take responsibility, describe your own emotions that are involved with it. Don't try and interpret what the other person's doing, and offer a suggestion.
Okay, I hope things go well and we don't need to apologize, okay? Dr. Peter, thank you for joining us tonight, okay?
Happy to be
Come
here.
back again. All right, this holiday season.